Like a warm wool sock in late fall, the Seattle Seahawks provided their fans with a comfortable win this past Sunday against the Tennessee Titans, taking them down 30-24 and extending their record out to 8-3, keeping pace in this highly contested NFC West, along with this very tightly packed NFC playoff picture as it's starting to materialize. It was a game where the defense gave up a long drive to the Titans offense, opening things up. Titans offense was only able to get 3 points. Hawks offense came back and matched it. Defense stifled the Titans offense then, and then the offense was able to just take it away from there, putting up what was collectively 16 unanswered points in that first half, putting the Titans behind the barrel in this game kind of right from the jump. And then as the game did get a little bit tight down the home stretch of this, I think the score would seem to indicate that this was a lot closer than it really was. The Seahawks really did have this game fully in their hands throughout, though I think you are going to hear quite a few Hawk fans bemoaning the fact that this wasn't more of a blowout, more of a dominant win. Probably speaks to how far we've come as a team that now starts to become the expectation. And while this Tennessee Titans team is 1-9 and not having a particularly good year, it is a team that's been in a lot of tight games against very good football teams. This was a total team effort, as we've seen throughout this year. There was a lot of the previous things and indicators for wins that we've seen in place in this game. Notably speaking, defensively, you were able to stop the run from the jump, give them no chance there, make Cam Ward have to try to beat you with his arm solely, and that guy gave it his best effort. He had a fantastic game, 28 of 42, 256 yards, a touchdown, and that doesn't really capture how good his day was because the Seahawks defense was ferocious, and that pass rush was coming after it, play after play, pass after pass, literally. PFF is charting that the Seahawks had 40 pressures on 42 dropbacks with Cam Ward in this game. There was a couple scrambles mixed in there as well to maybe bump that total dropback up a little bit, but it still shows you that they were getting a mighty amount of pressure from a collective amount of guys. Leonard Williams in there doing it across the board, a couple of tackles, getting quarterback hits all over the place, got himself a sack in addition to that. DeMarcus Lawrence making his impact felt all over the place as well. You have some really complete defenders up front there. Derek Hall, who's been coming on stronger and stronger, finally got his first sack of the year. And this was a defense in this game that was having to overcome some losses here that are starting to kind of stack up a little bit. Not badly, but a little bit. You're down Jaron Reed. You're down not just your starting inside linebacker, you're down your starting backup linebacker to your inside linebacker being Tyrese Knight, as he was also kind of a sub-starting will coming into this year. So you're down to your third inside linebacker, a man that goes by the name of Patrick O'Connell. And he had a really good game. Came out with 9 tackles in this game, a sack, a tackle for loss, a quarterback hit. He was kind of all over the place, very strong in helping to stop the run, which is how you begin this defense. You first stop the run, and now the pass rush can really get after it because those guys can pin their ears back because the threat of run is completely gone. But you got to really, really enjoy the fact you're seeing another player come on this team, as Mike has said, where there's a standard in place. It's not, oh, well, the backup's coming in, we're going to hold on for dear life. But these guys are able to come in and play really good football. We've seen it in Drake Thomas. We've seen it in Ty Akata. Hell, you had to go to DeAnthony Bell at one point in this game, down Akata. So much like your inside linebacker position, you were the third string on 2 different parts of your defense at one point in this game. And yet he made a couple plays as well. He held in there well, because you're not usually going to go that deep into the well and still see some good quality to the other side of it. The corners on the outside played really good. Devin Witherspoon had another really strong game in what he did. Woolen, again, continues to stack up solid to strong to really good performance, one after another as we go down this season. Nick Emanwari came in with 8 tackles and made one of those game-saving kind of plays as this game started to kind of drift and change in the wrong direction as he got onto Tyjae Spears, who reversed field and looked like he was going to be clear for a big play, and yet you got to see that 4.3 speed on the back of Nick as he tracked him down and was able to bring him down for a tackle and keep that play under control. Drake Thomas led the way with 10 tackles and a tackle for loss as he continues to be another one of those defensive players that just continues to stack solid defensive performance after solid defensive performance since he has ascended into the starting lineup. Just can't undersell as well that this is a game where maybe you didn't have the 7 or 8 sacks, maybe you didn't have a couple of turnovers, but a big part of that driving force was the play of Cam Ward. I think he showed fans out here in Seattle why he was the number 1 overall pick in this draft, as it was not a consensus at the time, but he was a guy with his improvisation back there in the backfield, his elusiveness, his pocket awareness, his feel for danger, his ability to extend plays to the absolute last possible second and then turn what would be the most worst of results into a amazing gain. He just pulls rabbits out of the hat time and time again as you watch him play. He's been doing it throughout the course of this year, and he looks like the real deal once this team actually goes out there and gets him a solid amount of help around him. But a good defensive performance around that all around, albeit the score's up a little bit high. Keep in mind, you gave up a punt return in this game, which kind of pushed the numbers up on that. The defense really only gave up 17 points in this game, and by and large, a big part of that was them, I think, playing a little bit softer into the second half. First half, McDonald really came at Cam Ward. He was dialing up as much blitzes as we've seen this year. He was dialing up a lot of the stacked boxes. I mean, he was coming after him in even a surprising way for how you watch this defense sometimes live in that front four. He wanted to have this kid thinking about what he was seeing up in front of him, and certainly it did affect Cam and being able to be uncomfortable in his dropbacks and finding guys on time. He was always having to feel like he had to move around to make anything happen, but then Mike seemed to get a little bit more conservative defensively. It felt like as the game went along, and certainly when you're down to your third inside linebacker and down to your third free safety and you're trying to protect over the top, you're probably going to be a little bit careful in that manner. Not a surprise there. Offensively speaking, the Seahawks did come out and get pretty hot to begin things, which matches up to what we've seen throughout the year for the most part from this offense, where they come out and they really get a couple of nice opening drives. They're able to just stack some points up quickly on teams, just get on top of teams, and maybe not always fully put them away, as that was, again, the struggle in this particular game, but yet you put up enough points at the end of the day to go and carry the victory. Darnold played pretty efficiently, 26 attempts, so you're not looking at a high volume approach in this one. There's going to be a couple of throws in this game that people are going to still kind of go, ooh, but overall, I thought the decision-making was really sharp, and his connection with Jackson Smith-Njigba, one that doesn't get talked about enough. Jackson Smith-Njigba absolutely, of course, is lighting it up. He set a record here in the NFL now with 11 straight games of, I think it's over 75 yards receiving in those individual games. He is now, I think, back on pace to break that Calvin Johnson record. He's doing it in every way, shape, and form. You're seeing some of the subtleties of the technique within his game. You move him in motion, and this is where I think we've got to give credit at times in some of this production with Jackson, as he himself gave credit to in the press conference, to a Clint Kubiak and to a Sam Darnold in this way, with those guys working to really maximize what he does, because you get Jackson kind of being always moved around, not just playing purely on the outside, but moved all around. He gets moved into the slot. He gets aligned up on a safety. It does look like the Titans kind of just blow the coverage. He's able to get that safety one-on-one, and as he said in his press conference, run an option route there, take the top off. That's not the designed route that he's supposed to run conceptually on that given play, but he reads the safety and he says, I got this guy. Sam reads it also true on the play and makes a really beautiful throw over the top. But what makes the play really go, of course, is the ball tracking of Jackson Smith-Njigba, which again, great to hear him talk about that in the presser too, where he's able to really quickly identify where the ball is not only coming out of Sam's hand, but where it's going to go to. And as a receiver, he can kind of track how he gets to that and on what kind of timely basis. And what I mean by that is, rather than just sprinting really fast to where the ball is going to be and then stopping and waiting and letting the defender catch back up to you, you slow down, body out the defender like a power forward down in the paint, kind of wait on the ball, and even if you can, almost get a little bit of a slingshot to pushing you forward to go get the catch, as you saw there, where it's not really a full push off. The officials are only going to call it when they see the arm extended. So if you can keep your hand here and absorb the contact, bounce off of it, and go make the catch, they will allow it. It's a very complicated move to pull off. We've seen masters of it here in Doug Baldwin. Tyler Lockett was great at that as well. It's a way to help your quarterback out where he's made a really nice pass in a right spot, but all just a little bit maybe behind just to a degree to allow that defender to come back and play if the receiver's getting a little bit lazy about his body position or he can't track the ball that quickly, that early out of the hand like Jackson can. It's part of what makes him such a top-end receiver, and it's a really tough skill to kind of track. You kind of know it when you see it with certain receivers, and you can also feel it when you have other receivers that don't, where maybe they've got a lot of speed and they've got ability to go up and get it, but they never quite can time the ball to when it's coming en route to quite pinpoint it in the right fashion, especially when it comes to, like, let's say, high pointing a football. But Jackson Smith is amazing. He lit the world on fire again in this game. 8 catches, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns, takes the top off the defense. Again, a red zone threat down there. Him and Sam Darnold having an absolute marvelous connection. And let's remember with this one, this is right out the gate. God help you all what's going to happen when these guys have a couple of years under their belt of practicing through OTAs and training camps and seasons and getting into that psychic-like connection these receivers often can with these quarterbacks when they're given the amount of time to really get a chance to really work with them. And Darnold was efficient in this game. He made the good throws. He got the timely conversions. He got you up the field. He got you scoring consistent points through all this game. I don't believe you punted in this game until you were about pretty deep into the third quarter, which is a pretty good opening for an offense. And while we'd all like to see them close better, and there's probably a variety of different reasons why they didn't close a little bit better in this game versus some of the other games this year, and it has been a little bit of an issue throughout the games this year at times. Again, a good problem to have where it's like we just get up on teams too bad. We just can't quite put them away well enough. That's a good verse. Wow, we just lose it in the 2-minute warning. Or wow, we just find ourselves falling behind in games and always having to climb our way out of them. That kind of sucks. So it's better to be, I think, on this end an overall basis. But Darnold played a good game. Bounced back this week, I think, with some smart decision making, aided by Kubiak, where there was a little bit more of, I'm going to get these throws out to the flat at times. I'm going to dirt throws. I'm going to be willing to throw things away. Less of trying to do things a little bit late in the play like I talked about last week. So it was good to see that both coordinator and quarterback seemed to acknowledge a little bit of the adjustment they needed to make this week. And it helped this team, it helped this offense because in not turning the ball over, you came away with a comfortable win. That's a big key on this team, especially when the defense can play as well as it is and generate 40 pressures in a given day, which is just ridiculous. Numbers, ridiculous. But Sam, really good. Weren't able to get a lot of the other passing attack melded in here. You're still trying to figure out what to do with Rashid Shaheed. You still have second rounder Elijah Arroyo without really a role in this offense. You get him like one target a game and then just kind of forget about him. Even AJ Barner, after his 10 catch effort last week, wasn't heavily utilized in this game, just kind of sprinkled in. Now, granted, again, you only had 26 targets in this game from Sam, and 10 of those are going over there to Jackson Smith and Jigba. So there's only so much of the pie left over for these guys to get their bites in. And you were running the ball pretty well today. Both Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet were both able to find some success in this one, run at a high yard per carry average, feel pretty consistent in finding good yards on the ground throughout all the course of this game. Maybe even felt a little bit like we should have slid back into running a little bit more as you got in the third quarter here. But again, what you saw from the Tennessee Titans is what we've seen from every team this season, save for really the Rams, where again, they were drifting back into that single high look, bringing a lot of guys down the box, being willing to really sacrifice things on the back end. This is how you get a Jackson Smith and Jigba deep, for instance, because there isn't the double team over the top that you got a freaking safety trying to cover him, because partly they're really, really going to stay committed to trying to stop the run against the Seattle Seahawks team. And if the Seahawks team is going to find the consistency as they did today with both of the running backs, probably going to continue to see those stacked boxes up front and probably have some opportunities to be able to exploit it. The running backs ran well. You opened some holes up there. There were some really nice blocks, especially on the outside zone runs, some pitch plays out there. Kenneth Walker really seems like he's starting to understand this offensive scheme and how you have to run within it. It's not necessarily an easy one for running backs. They'll oftentimes point to this kind of zone-centric scheme as making them a little bit robotic, and it can be a tough transition for a guy that's been able to do a lot of freelancing over the course of his career. But Walker seems to get more comfortable, and I did think that this scheme would eventually, if he could get comfortable with it, really suit him well, maybe even suit him best, because it will take a little bit of some of the thinking out of what he's got to do and lock him into more of a corridor of kind of, door A, B, or C. You don't have to think about D, E, F. Just concentrate on these three, go through one of the three, pick the one you read on the fly, and you should be good and you will find success. He's finding success now. Special teams wise, Jason Myers made all three of his kicks. That factored in pretty big as you were able to hold on and have that comfortable lead partly because of that. You did have a punt return touchdown where Michael Dixon kind of outkicked his coverage just a little bit with a 60-yarder, and then you gave up the edge on a reverse field type of punt. Looked like there may have been a couple of blocks on that play that looked like they could have been called holding or block in the back. When uncalled, is what it is on it, but the special teams unit overall this season has been outstanding. In fact, the best in all of football. So I'm not going to be particularly too worried about it. And aside from that, you punted well, you kicked well, you defended the kickoffs well. Again, the special teams holding up their end of the bargain. Many Seahawks fans are coming out of this win still trying to figure out what this team is and where they're going. They look at the disappointing loss last week by 2 points to the Rams, and then this win this week, which was to them maybe a little bit less than authoritative. You didn't exactly put an exclamation point as they would like to see on it to determine that this is a contender, that you have taken that step or you're in the process of taking that final step to becoming elite. And while I understand people a little bit impatient, as we've been waiting for a little bit for this to become a winner for a while now, that you haven't had a ton of tremendous playoff success in recent years. This team is moving in the right direction, and that we don't necessarily have to look to just next year quite yet, that this thing can still happen this year. It's a war of attrition, this NFL. You want to be at your as healthiest as you can be and at your hottest as you can be, hopefully at the end of the year, that both of those things intersect. And right now, when you look at the Seattle Seahawks, Jaron Reed's coming back. Both of the inside linebackers that you lost today are coming back. You're going to get Julian Love returned back in there, and he is big for the communication, especially on that back end. Not that Tyakata hasn't played really well, but Julian Love is a real stalwart back there in what he brings to play. Likewise, when you go over to the offensive side of the ball, you're going to have everybody potentially back in the ranks there at some point or another. There's going to be some other injuries, obviously, with still a long NFL season, but Sundell will be returned. Torrey Horton's the only guy that's really gone on IR, as you've got everybody back in flux here. So health-wise, you're looking really good. And are you getting better? Well, have the Seahawks found a little bit more consistency on the ground as this year has gone along? Yeah, they have. There are holes starting to open up. They're starting to understand some of the detail-driven nature of this scheme, which you would expect would take a little bit of time to master. They're already really good in pass protection on the back of the scheme, on the back of the play calling, being able to find balance between run and pass. They're as low as you'll find the league as far as sacks go. That's a credit to Sam Darnold. We'll see in the big games thing. We'll see in the primetime stuff with all the narrative out there that exists on him, but I don't think his story is yet told. And this defense is definitely getting to the depths of Mike McDonald's playbook. He is bringing out details. He's bringing out tricks. He's bringing out different machinations that were not at play last year. Maybe weren't even at play when we started out this season through the first couple of games. But he is bringing it all out into bear now, and it is really becoming problematic for some of these teams, especially as he's upped the ante on that blitz rate the past couple of weeks and not just run with that front four up front. So this is a team that does appear like it is coming together, and maybe the progress isn't some gigantic step or a Titan-sized step, but it is progress. And the team does appear to be getting better bit by bit, and they are in the upper crust as it would look like right now in the NFL, not just the NFC. Keep the faith, my Hawk fans. This team might just still surprise you this year. My name is Brandon Kane. This is the Hawks Nest. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. But beyond all that, don't you ever forget, go Hawks.